Hello, my name is Austin Worthman, and I am a student of PS 209, and I am choosing to do this video assignment on the attack that took place at the Istanbul airport, June 28th of 2016. This attack consisted of shootings and bombings by three various attackers. By just these three attackers, 45 people were killed and over 230 were injured. Turkish officials speculated that the attackers were from Russia and Central Asia, which is an enemy or not an ally of Turkey. With an event like this would be classified as a world event. Not only did it affect the Turkish law enforcement agencies and the airport, but it rose red flags all around the world for the governments that are also fighting these same terrorist groups. With the numerous attacks happening before this one, which were three, it'd be important to take in consideration that the fact that another attack could happen at any time. Trying to find the motive and reasoning behind all these attacks could provide some direction for the different agencies involved in this attack and that were allies of Turkey, which leads me to cross-agency cooperation. This is a must when dealing with terrorism. Turkey has many allies that are dealing with these same groups, and working together will provide better planning and recovery from such an event. There were many key pieces of information that I discovered while reading this case, and like I said before, Istanbul, or Turkey, had been subject to three various attacks earlier in the year, and were said to be linked to the Islamic State of Iran and Levant. There was also another attack claimed by the Kurdistan Freedom Hawks, which is another group that has been targeting soldiers and policemen of Turkey, and they had committed a car bombing. The CIA director mentioned that Turkey was paying a price, possibly for the former prime minister and current president, due to blindness towards these attacks and worrying about other things. The Washington Post also mentioned that maybe these attacks were not by chance, but instead because of their current president trying to repair his regime's foreign relations with other allies, where these groups that were attacking them did not necessarily want this Western influence and were trying to punish them for that. Obviously, these right now are just speculations and potential causes for these attacks. It can be almost impossible to get a definitive answer on why these attacks took place. This case was mostly open source and just gaining information that obviously were in public articles. This can still be helpful, but only to an extent. Open source means overt and not covert. That means that none of the information we are reading is top secret or classified, and a lot of these articles are from different sources, but they are relatively the same and may have one or two pieces of information that are different, but also they will kind of blend together and leading us to only gather different information to an extent. Like I said, these articles are released to the public, so they will not be containing any covert or confidential information, and which could prevent some problems on us gathering information to get a clear and full understanding of why these attacks took place. The biggest piece of information that I gathered from the various sources of articles that I read was how a BBC correspondent claimed that Turkey was being targeted by the Islamic State because the Islamic State can see how Turkey is becoming un-Islamic and moving closer to the Western allies in NATO. Like I said before, these groups may not want that Western influence and want to keep it in their religious views and their way, and this could be a way of punishing them. Turkey is also attempting to close down the Islamic State networks in that area and force them out to other areas to prevent more of these attacks from taking place. This case would primarily be human intelligence based due to the fact that it's almost based entirely on religious views and people not agreeing on who are allies and the different influence from governments. Like I said, many of these events could take place because of their religious views and different groups not agreeing on issues, which can lead to the different conflicts and various serious attacks that have been taking place. Like I said, several attacks that took place earlier this year, meaning that time is a very important issue because we do not know when another attack could happen. Using the intelligence cycle can help determine the targets and times for another potential attack and will allow us to prevent some, because it can almost be a guarantee that these attacks will always be there and we can't prevent all of them. However, with the intelligence cycle having so many different steps and not really wanting to rush it, it can cause issues and want people to indeed try to rush it and get through it as fast as possible, which can lead us to missing different pieces of information and lead to issues such as cognitive biases. This can happen when in the process and involves mental errors caused by our simplified information process, and we can miss information, like I said, and get our personal interests too much into our decision making. We need to keep the cultural, organizational, and other personal interest biases away from the decision making process, because that will allow for an effective intelligence process that will limit errors when trying to decide new laws, maybe which direction to go, and so on. The primary consumers of the intelligence process would be, like I said before, almost all over the world. But a lot of the articles I read included the United States, Germany, and then, of course, Turkey. These are just a few of Turkey's allies that had made comments in these articles about saying they would continue to support Turkey in their efforts to push out the Islamic State networks and how these attacks were cowardly and so on. There are some issues that could kind of hold back the dissemination of information, and that could be deciding on giving out certain pieces of information and maybe not others due to it being problematic for these groups and maybe even causing more events to take place. This could be dissemination bias, which could again have personal interests getting wrapped up into it. Possibly waiting to give out information could prevent the necessary tools to be put in place that enable efficient prevention, protection, and response and recovery activities. With a case like this, one that is so complex and so many moving parts, I believe there would have to be new strategies or tactical initiatives to fight the terrorism. It can be technology, obviously that's a part of gaining intelligence, but I think counterterrorism is something that could be of great interest. Counterterrorism is when they use military, police, and government strategies to combat and prevent terrorism. A big part of this would be, for example, what the U.S. uses, the foreign internal defense that provides support to other countries to suppress insurgency, lawlessness, and reduce security threats from developing in the first place. Almost like the intelligence cycle, counterterrorism includes planning and preparation to be effective when used. Long-term goals of analyzing this case would be to find out the reasons of the attacks, who committed them, why they had their reasoning could be, and the best possible responses to deal with and mitigate these attacks from happening in the future. Like I said, it can be very challenging to completely stop these attacks. The intelligence cycle is very important to completing this. It will help us plan and find our direction to fight these attacks from the different insurgent groups, collect information on these groups and find, like I said, the motives behind their actions, make reports to further analyze our different events and how these groups maybe fit together and the targets they hit and why, and finally spread the information to the policymakers who may have more questions and be able to better the plan of action. Time is always a sensitive issue in this, and it can limit the overall effectiveness of the intelligence cycle. Having to rush the planning and gathering process can lead to ineffective decision making and not finding the root cause of these attacks. Like I said, terrorism will always be an issue, but being able to work together with the cross-agency cooperation and effectively using the intelligence cycle can help combat and prevent some of these attacks. Thank you.